When I was a kid going to the carnival, when you would like spin around in that UFO thing, I would come out a shade of green that my grandma was very concerned about. So I don't know how I'm going to do with this one.
Universal's epic universe is a big place, to say the least. It's been at the forefront of theme park enthusiasts' minds since it was first announced in 2019. I had one day to take in as much as possible, so I hopped from world to world to see the sights and ride the rides. I also had one attraction left to experience in Dark Universe, and that's where we're gonna start. Just how was the Curse of the Werewolf spinning coaster, and did it live up to the rest of this monstrous world? When you walk through Darkmoor Village, the track for Curse of the Werewolf is visible to the left of Frankenstein Manor. On your way there, you'll pass the Burning Blade Tavern, and at some point down the road, see a wooden carriage with jars of eyeballs, skeleton parts, and more placed on top of it. Close to the coaster entrance and out of some brush, there are footprints in the cement that turn into wolf tracks and disappear on the other side of the path. There are a few other wolf prints around too. Those kind of details are always fun to spot. The entrance to the attraction is pretty nice. It's all set up like a mystic or fortune teller's booth or tent with faded purples, golds, and blues, giving everything a distinct look. I'll just say, the ride's logo is effectively badass. I love the werewolf bust bursting from the booth and holding that crystal ball. Extra points for also playing some slow, creepy 1940s era music. Just before you jump in the queue, there's an ad for what's referred to in commercials as the new Maleva. Maleva is the mystic character from the 1941 Wolfman film, played by Maria Ospinskaya.
Even a man who is pure in heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright. I love the Wolfman, so, looking forward to some of this, at least the theming of it. I'm gonna go on it. Wish me luck.
The queue itself really isn't anything special. I enjoyed the winding walkways that led you in and out. Displays featuring a version of that famous saying from the old films was great too. I also appreciated the shade with the tent coverings and those fans keeping us cool. Pentagrams on the walls call back to the movies, and a table with tarot cards and other props on it shows up at one point as well. The only other detail of note was a broken portion of the roof over the loading station where a screen shined the full moon. Now, I wasn't there at night. This might be a different experience then, but it seems like there should have been more going on here. Why aren't there a few actors dressed up as Maleva walking around the queue telling riders they're cursed, or sitting at the tarot card table predicting people's futures? Seems like a no-brainer. Maybe Maleva only shows up at certain times, I don't know. Overall, I was just a little let down with the build-up considering how ridiculously elaborate Monsters Unchained is. Yet, I also understand this is more of a roller coaster and less of an attraction. So how was this spinning excursion?
Just got off the ride. Happy to report I do not have any motion sickness. So I was a little bit worried about that. But the spin is, it's actually pretty fun. It doesn't overdo it, because sometimes you see like these spinning rides that are also, on a roller coaster track. They spin a lot, and that's something that I just usually can't handle. This was pretty good. I like to usually see where I'm going, and most of the time I did with this. Only a couple times where I was completely the other way. I would say that there are some great points where there's bursts of speed and everything. There's not much of a build-up. There's no a crank building you up. Where you go backwards is pretty fun, and we'll say it's a little bit short. We waited in line for 45 minutes. I don't think it's really worth a 45-minute wait. I would personally say if it's a half hour or under, hop in the line. Or even the single riders get on there so quick. I think that it's not really too much worth it to stand in the line queue for this. It's more just you want to experience the ride itself. At the very end, there is a little Maleva statue person. Not even a little movement. They couldn't even move her arm or something. There's no animatronic movement at all in this character. So that was a little bit disappointing. There is a Wolfman that kind of reaches down in one of the tunnel areas, which is cool to see, but I was hoping for a little bit more from this ride, from the theming aspect of things. Just as a pure coaster, it's fun. I even think kids who are tall enough to ride this would enjoy it. If this is kind of their first different kind of coaster that goes backwards and spins, I think this is a good starter for that because there's a big cart that you get in. There's a lot of room too. It delivers on like the thrills without being too intense. So I'd recommend this one. Just, again, I would say anything over a half-hour wait, I wouldn't really hop in the line for that. But this is a good one. Oh!
Beyond this gate, find gardens green and epic worlds to fill your dreams. Those are the words on the entrance portal to Epic Universe, and they sure weren't lying. My goodness, this place is the most extravagant theme park I've ever seen. Words fail to describe certain parts. I should probably save this term for the Earth's most beautiful natural landscapes or man's greatest architectural feats, but sometimes this place was breathtaking. I lost track of how much I said wow while walking around, trying to capture as much as I could. Some of these views are unbelievable, and the individual worlds each have a massive scale that we'll get into. Entering in through the main portal puts you into Celestial Park. It's a cosmic Greek-Roman gods-inspired main hub that connects to all the other worlds. The music played there and for every part of Epic Universe is original and specific to each area. Upon entering, the incredible viewpoints were matched by that music. It really increased the wonder and joy of seeing it all for the first time. I loved every second of those first few minutes and was left kind of speechless. Unfortunately, I had a schedule to keep. In order to see all the different worlds and especially make enough time to record all the footage I needed in Dark Universe, I didn't get to explore Celestial Park as much as I wanted. I heard later that Pizza Moon is a great place for food and the nighttime fountain show is wonderful. The very last thing I did before the park closed that night was ride Stardust Racers, and well, it changed my life. Shout out to my cousin Alex for suggesting it. He's a big roller coaster guy and put it on my radar when he found out I was there. We were in line for about an hour going past the park's closing time, and I couldn't have been happier with my choice. Getting on was a bit of a hassle because of the strict policy Universal has about having anything in your pockets. You have to go through metal detectors and pat-downs. That's barely a footnote, though. As we got closer, the cheers and applause of riders kept getting louder. Every one of the trains returning were erupting in exhilaration when they got back from their run on the tracks. I spotted flux capacitors on the back of every train too, a nice little detail. Since we went on at night, the whole thing was lit up. I'd suggest riding this coaster at night for that reason. You get launched up to 62 miles per hour for a thrill I've rarely, if ever, experienced. There's never really a lull. The trains just seem to increase their speed the entire minute and a half. It was 100% excitement and honestly, one of the best roller coasters I've ever been on. It's better than Velocicoaster for me and maybe even tops Steel Vengeance from Cedar Point. I was walking on air the rest of the night and am still thinking about it over a week later. If you're a big roller coaster guy or gal, you're going to want to make sure you hop on Stardust Racers. I stopped by How to Train Your Dragon's Isle of Burke for a short visit, and excluding Celestial Park, it seems to be the most expansive of the worlds. I've seen the animated How to Train Your Dragon films and like them fine, but if you're a big fan, this will probably meet your expectations. I really only had a chance to walk around in there for a little while, but it was impressive to behold. It's got a very naturalistic feel and is mostly situated on boardwalks above water. A few Vikings were spotted while I was walking around, and they seemed to be having a good time interacting with guests. There's plenty of activities for kids, and older fans will, I'm sure, love the detail they put into this place. Their main attraction is Hiccup's Wing Gliders, and there's a live show that's gotten some attention called the Untrainable Dragon. I wish I could have at least hopped on the Wing Glider ride, but there were other worlds to explore and only a few hours to do it in. When I first heard there was going to be another Harry Potter world, I kind of rolled my eyes. We already have Diagon Alley, give another property a chance. Honestly, I still kind of feel that way, but when I finally stepped foot in the Ministry of Magic world, I was blown away by its size and scope. First of all, I really like the moving time turner on top of the portal entrance. Excellent touch. The buildings in there are huge. For all intents and purposes, this felt like a real 1920s downtown Paris street with all the particulars. You pass through a modified replica of Arc de Triomphe and can interact with pretty much everything, including some highly regarded food and beverage stops. I only saw the first Fantastic Beasts movie, so most of the significance was lost on me. Just on the surface, this was amazing. I didn't really grow up with them, but I'm more familiar with the main Harry Potter films, so when we entered a metro station and popped out of a fireplace into the 1990s Ministry of Magic, I recognized it right away, and my mouth dropped. I could not believe how gigantic this room was. They actually created that whole set from the films. Video doesn't do it justice. It was insane to see in person. Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry was a mixed experience for me. I loved being there and walking through the queue. The different rooms had a bunch of fun stuff to look at. But then we kept going into more rooms. And more rooms. And more rooms. At one point, one of the attendants was asking everybody how many people were in each group. This is what they do right before you get on the ride. But not here. They tricked us. The deception. We went into more rooms. More rooms for like another 40 minutes. The initial wait time was about an hour and a half, but it seemed like I was walking from space to space for like 3 weeks. When we finally got to the ride, it was fine. I was really impressed with some of the animatronic movement. A few moments rivaled the fluidity of the figures in Monsters Unchained, but it was pretty much all screens, like Escape from Gringotts over at Universal Studios Florida. I did like the story of Dolores Umbridge trying to escape before her trial. Maybe the long wait had something to do with it, but I wasn't all that into this. Still totally worth it to see 1920s Paris and the main Ministry of Magic Hall, though. Outside of Dark Universe, I was most looking forward to seeing Super Nintendo World. I had been to the Universal Hollywood version a couple years ago, but this was a totally different beast. It blew the West Coast iteration out of the water. Starting outside the portal with the Mario fountain and castle-shaped shops, I knew this was going to be something special for any lifelong Nintendo fan. From the "here we go" quote and spinning Mario coin on top of the entrance to the giant warp pipe, the presentation for heading inside was perfect. You first arrive at the interior of Peach's castle with paintings akin to Mario 64. Stepping outside to see the full world was magnificent. I mean, look at all this stuff. Just look at it! I found it hard to comprehend and register everything I was seeing. It's like what your child brain would imagine Mario's POV might be, except better because it's real. I'm just gonna let you take everything in for a few seconds. You do have to separately purchase one of those power-up bands to interact with some of this stuff, which feels overboard to me considering how much people are already spending to be there. Count that as a negative. But you don't need the power-up band to have fun. Donkey Kong Country is an awesome addition. It's got its own unique vibe as a world within a world, and it was a blast to check out. We had just enough time to get on Minecart Madness, and I'm so glad we did. The queue isn't quite as intricate as the Ministry or Monster rides, but it strikes a perfect balance of theme and old-school fun. The Cranky Kong and Squawks animatronics almost felt like a Chuck E. Cheese style throwback. The Golden Temple aesthetic gave us plenty of entertaining imagery to inspect, too. Each cart only holds 4 people and is launched individually for a more personalized ride experience. They do a great job of making it feel like you're going off the rails with broken tracks and unexpected turns, creating some extra unpredictability. I don't hear Minecart Madness mentioned much when people talk about the new attractions that have opened, but it should be highlighted more. This was a tremendous little coaster. Overall, my short time at Epic Universe is something that I won't soon forget. If you ever have the means and the chance to go, take it. More detailed thoughts on Dark Universe along with the Monsters Unchained attraction are available in a separate video that you can check out right here on Channel Awesome. For additional content, like a review of the Twilight Zone Easter eggs on Disney's Tower of Terror, take a look at my personal channel, Walter Culture. Next time on Juniversal, we dive into the deep with Universal's ultimate creature feature. See you then.
The spinning roller coaster known as Curse of the Werewolf